We'll give everybody a couple of minutes, and then we'll get started here. Oops, no, I didn't mean to deny entry. Oh, goodness.
That's my girl. I'll text
Finger
her.
is going way too fast.
Hit the wrong button.
Let me text her real quick.
Picture in picture. Move to a tab. Oh my gosh, I can see everybody at once. This is amazing.
Love this.
Okay, everybody. So like in a couple minutes, we're gonna do what Greg did on our last call. And like when we say go, or when I say go, everybody's gonna come off of their microphones or like come off of mute and just say hello. I thought that was cool. We did that last call. So we'll always open our calls with that just so we can say hi or happy Sunday, whatever. And then we'll go back on mute and then we'll get our call started. So we'll give everybody just a couple of minutes. One of my athletes actually told me how to make it so I can see all of you guys. So it's really exciting. So when I know, well, so at the bottom of your screen, and this could be for anybody, the bottom of your screen, like next to the little telephone, there's 3 dots. So if you press on that, you can change the layout. And like you can pick, I have it on tiled so I can see everybody at once.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I felt really, really cool when I figured that out. So when we all come off of our microphones, I would love for everybody to also show their beautiful faces so we can see everybody. And I'm going to take a picture. So make sure you make like your best face, right? I usually don't tell anybody. And then when I post it in my stories, like everybody's making these like crazy faces. And I'm like, oh, I should have warned everybody. All right. And then once we get started, you guys will have to bear with me for just a second because I'll be sharing my screen with everybody. And I haven't quite mastered that skill yet. Stay with everyone on the call. All right, so it's 5 after. So you guys get ready. I want everybody to come off mute, show your beautiful faces. And then when I say 1, 2, 3, you're gonna all smile so I can take a picture. And everybody just say hello. All right, ready?
Hi.
1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Hello.
Awesome. Okay, so everybody can go back on mute. If you don't want to keep your camera on, that's totally cool. Happy Sunday. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. We're super, super excited to do this series. We had this great idea last year, and so we actually kind of put it into action. So thank you guys for all joining us. Couple of things. Today, myself and Corinne will be presenting, and then Anne will be adding any gold nuggets that she has along the way. We will have a raffle today, so we'll have a raffle like every call that we're doing, and so we've gotten some of our different sponsors to donate things, so that is really exciting. So today, it is a tanning shirt. So if you don't have one, this is it. It's actually one of my favorite shirts. I wear it like for competition weekend. I have it on all the time. And a pair of Fit Body Fusion socks. So Anne will be doing like a random draw. So we have an app. She's putting in everybody's name and it'll be very random at the end of the call. And we'll let you know who wins. And then I will send that to you. And then we have giveaways from Toxic, Protan, Legion. We'll have some more merch. Those are all the different things we'll be giving away. So thank you for joining us. So we will get started. I am going to share my screen with you. So bear with me for just a second. Let's see. Present. Here we go. A window, a tab. Okay, can everybody see? I still want to figure out how do I... I want to make this bigger.
Do you just go to slideshow, maybe?
Where's that at? Oh, duh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, there we go. Oh, but I kind of want everybody. Oh, look at this. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So this is our Platinum Competition Series. Today, we're going to specifically be talking about budget, show selection, and judging, and they all go together really, really well. So I will start. Anne, are you able to admit people? Or Corinne, can you?
Yes,
Okay.
I got it.
I don't want to be ignoring them. All right. So first things first, talking about how much is it to compete. Now, these are really broad ranges. I kind of picked like the lowest end to the highest end, depending on what your choice is. But I really wanted to give everybody just an idea, especially if you're a first-time competitor. If this is not your first-time competitor, not all of these costs are going to apply to you. But it is a really good idea to think of when we're going into show season and you're thinking of, you know, what you want to do, where you want to go. It is really good to have in your head, like, okay, I need to kind of plan for like $2,000 this season or however much. So first thing is going to be your suit. That's going to range from about $400 to $800. Heels and jewelry, $90 to $300. Travel transportation. So that's going to be whether you fly or you you drive somewhere. If you fly somewhere, you're going to need Uber or you're going to rent a car or taxi. So I put $100 to $500. Hotel costs are going to be $300 to $800. Again, this is a really broad range depending where you're going to be. Tan, $100 to $300. Hair and makeup, $175 to $300. NPC membership, $125, and that is for the year, the whole year. So you only need to get that once. And the thing I forgot to put on here are your entry fees. Duh, that is huge. So entry fees are going to run you, depending on how many classes you're doing, is going to run you anywhere probably from like $150 on up. So I would say give yourself like $150 to $400, depending on what you want to do. That is a big deal too, because sometimes if you're budgeting, you don't want to go into one show and say, oh, I'm going to do everything, because maybe that money could be used for another show. So that's a really important conversation to have with your judge. So yeah, I don't have that on there. And then I have supplies, and that's just like basic things that you need that you don't have at home to travel. Your coach will always give you like a checklist or a document with all the things that you need to pack. So, you know, if you need to get like cups for peeing, or I don't know, anything like a sewing kit or anything that you don't regularly have at home, I put $100 to $200. And then food, which that's going to vary, and I'll talk about that on the next slide, $100 to $200, depending on kind of whether you prep it or you buy it when you get there. So all in all, your total budget's going to be, honestly, I'd probably say closer to $1,700 to $1,800 up to $4,000. And that's including your entry fees that I didn't put on there. So that gives you just a basic idea. Does anybody have any questions about like a basic budget? Nope. Okay. Next slide. So the big question is, where can you save? Where can we save money? Because, you know, if you're doing this for more than one season, and hopefully you are, you definitely start learning just different different ways to save money. So just a few things that we came up with, and I'll actually add in a few things too that I was thinking of as I was talking. In terms of a suit, you don't have to have a new suit every single show. You know, typically you'll get a suit that you really, really like, and you'll use that for the entire season. Now, if you have the budget to get a suit for every show, then you totally can do that. But in general, if you're a first-time competitor, you know, I do recommend you do get a suit that you really feel great in, and you use that. You know, you can use it for a couple of seasons, and you can always reuse your suits. But you can buy your suits used. So we have our Fit Body Fusion Facebook page, and athletes are always posting suits on there, so you can buy them there. We can also utilize our WhatsApp group for that. You know, if you guys have suits that you want to sell, you can post it on the WhatsApp group too, and you can rent. That's another good option if, you know, if it's your first season and you're not quite sure, or you want to play around with colors, you can rent a suit. I know for myself, like, you know, I always let my athletes know I have a couple suits and I'm more than happy to like lend them out if people need them. I learned that from another great coach, Corinne. That's always an option because it gets really, really pricey. And then once you realize that you've fallen in love with the sport, I do recommend you invest in a really good suit, because you can wear that same suit for years, you know, for a few seasons. And if it fits you specifically, if you've had it custom made, it makes a massive difference. Massive, massive difference. All right, so on next to hair and makeup. So the thing with this is you can do it yourself. So we do have a couple of coaches who have tutorials like on their Instagram, specifically Angela White. She's got some tutorials. I think Yvette does as well. They're really good resources if you decide you want to do it yourself. You can also go to YouTube. There's plenty of like stage makeup tutorials out there. If you're going to do that, I suggest you start well in advance, because you're going to have to put together your makeup kit and start to practice. So it's not, unless you, if you're doing your first show, I'd probably more recommend that you have your makeup done, because it is quite an investment to get all your makeup as well if you're doing it yourself. But once you get in the groove, if you decide you want to do your own makeup because you're doing several shows, it's a great way to save money. I put down here, shop around for your options. You know, I know like all of us as pros, we have our favorites, but that doesn't mean that those are the only people that are going to do great makeup. There are lots of makeup artists out there that do a really great job. Even on our team, we have a few makeup artists that they do show makeup now. So it's a great, you can reach out on the Facebook page, as well as, you know, even ask WhatsApp. I know I've had my makeup done like that a couple times, and it's really cool. So you can save money that way. And yeah, those are kind of all the options for hair and makeup. So you're not stuck with just like going with one makeup artist. Shop around, look at makeup artists' Instagram pages, because just because I like LeBeau doesn't mean that you may like LeBeau. You know, like it just really depends on the look that you want, and if you feel like they're going to be able to present, like help you present your best package. Tan. So you're definitely going to save money going the Pro Tan DIY. You're always probably going to hear all the coaches say it. Why? Because we absolutely love it. There are going to be a few situations and a few people that like the product just doesn't work well for you, and that's okay, but you won't know until you try it. And I promise you it's not hard. It is not hard. That's probably the number one thing that people say is, I can't do it myself. You absolutely can, amazingly. It's super, super easy. It's relaxing because you're not like stuck to a schedule. If you mess up, it's super easy to fix. All of the coaches have a lot of experience with it. So if we are at a show, even if we're not your coach, we will put your tan on for you. But it is our product of choice, and it's very affordable. So if you know going into the season that you're going to do a couple of shows, buy the bigger packages. Don't keep buying the like small competition packages, because it's more expensive. So you'll want to buy like your stuff in bulk, and you can just, if you're going to carry it on, you can, you know, refill like the little bottles if you buy one little pack, or you just send it in your suitcase. And we will actually talk about that on our bloopers call in a couple of weeks about what do you do like if you don't have your tan. But that is a product that we recommend because it's the most cost effective, and you can control it, and it's a great product. And we will have Elise joining us in a couple weeks to talk about that entire process. And she's really great. She will go through everything, how to apply it, what to do before, what to do after. The other thing is jewelry, and this goes for shoes as well. You can shop around for these things. If you've ever been to a seminar with Sandy, she will tell you she could care less what kind of shoes you show up on the stage with. So do they need to be Shoe Fairy Olympians? No, they don't have to be. You can go on Amazon. I know, like, my first season, I loved a pair that I got on Amazon that were $30. I bought a couple pair of them. I love them. I still have them, actually. So shop around, find the shoe that fits your budget, but ultimately you want it to fit your foot, because most of us don't walk around in stage heels every day. So you want to be comfortable and be able to walk in them and make sure they fit your foot right. I always tell my athletes, if they've never worn stage shoes, you want to order a couple pair and try them on, or go somewhere that you can try them on, because they all fit different, all of them. Shoe Fairy shoes, for the most part, they are pretty universal. They do fit most people pretty well, but they are expensive, but they are good quality. So you just kind of have to outweigh those things. So shoes, you have flexibility. You can shop around with them. Same thing with jewelry. You do not have to buy like official stage jewelry. You can buy stage jewelry from Amazon. You can go to a thrift store. You can go to department stores. I have gotten some of my favorite pieces, like, you know, if the department stores have crazy sales, like, it's just random. I call it, like, I used to call it like old people costume jewelry. Well, that's the jewelry we wear on stage. So you can find some really good deals. So if you know you're competing, kind of keep your eyes open whenever you're out, because you'll never know, you know, what you find. But you're just, don't feel like you're stuck to having to buy really expensive stuff. If you are going to shows, there's always usually going to be like vendors, you know, kind of out. That's a really good place to get jewelry. They actually are, it's really affordable. You get to see it in person. You can try it on. A couple of the vendors, it's usually the same girls that are there, but they always have really great prices. And you can also swap. If you know other competitors and other athletes, you can ask them if they have different rings or bracelets. It's you know, it's a great way to save money. Now, the biggest chunk is going to be your show selection, and Corinne is actually going to take over that part. But the biggest part of your budget, a lot of times, is going to be based on your show selection. So it's not as easy as just saying like, oh, I have to do the Clash. Maybe the Clash is not accessible to you. Maybe it's going to cost, like, your flight's going to be $800. So maybe that's not the right show for you. Maybe your plans for the season are to get on a national stage. So that's going to drive your choices and your budget a lot different. So show selection is so extremely important. Again, like, even with your show selection, how many classes am I going to compete? That's a budget thing. You know, I always tell my girls, like, if you have the budget to do 2 or 3, by all means, let's do it. But if you don't, these are the 2 that I really want you to do. And all of your coaches are going to be very honest and give you really good feedback on what they think you should do. Like, if you need to pick a couple. So Corinne will go into show selection and kind of what goes into that. But that, again, like I said, that's a big piece of your budget. You want to start looking at, like, this season, if I only have $1,000 to budget for competing, I'm not going to do 4 shows in Bermuda, because that's just not going to work for me. That's not going to work in my budget. You know, so I may decide, okay, I'm going to stay closer. I'll do a couple shows in Sacramento, and I'll stay in Arizona. And that's just, it's honestly, sometimes it's just driven by, like, what, you know, financial situations. In terms of accommodations for your show selections, that could be a big deal too. Like, start to think bigger and think like, I really want to do this show, but I don't know anybody that's going there. And if you don't know anybody that's going there, and if you're not going like with your family, you're going to have to absorb like all of your costs yourself. Whereas if you go to a show and you know some other girls that are going, then you can be roommates and you can share it. And it's a super fun experience. A good way to find out who's going where is ask your coach, because a lot of times, you know, we try to get like our athletes at some of the same shows. So you guys have that bond and that connection. But go on the Facebook page. If you're thinking about, oh, I'm going to do Nashville Fit, get on the football page, the Facebook page, and ask people who's going to be there. Does anybody have a room? You can get on WhatsApp, same thing, and ask people. So that's a huge, huge piece of your budget. If you can share rooms with people. And a lot of times too, just to forewarn you guys, at some of the bigger shows, things are already sold out. So it's another thing you have to start thinking about. Like even as coaches, we have to think about that. Like North Americans, it's really hard to get a room. If you didn't get a room like the first week that Gary opened it up, it's like they're all gone. There will be stuff that kind of like trickles in, but for the most part, it's really good to start buddying up with people. So, the last thing is once you have an idea of what you're going to do and you feel really confident and then you ask your coach, make sure you register early because all of these shows are going to be more expensive to register at the last minute. You can register at the last minute and there will be times that you want to register at the last minute, but try your hardest to meet those deadlines so you can save yourself some money. You can spend that on other fun things. The one thing I didn't have in here, and I'm going to back up a little bit, is your food. And we as coaches, we talked about this and we think we want to do another call on this. When you compete, if you have never competed before, your best bet is to always travel with all of your food. You will save money. It is predictable. And when you are that close to stage and you're there basically, right? You don't want to create any more stress. You don't want to introduce anything to your body that you don't know. And you don't know, people can tell you, oh, we don't add oil, we don't do this. And like worst case scenario, you can get food, but you will always save money and you will always save yourself stress if you meal prep your food. And when people always ask, well, what do I take? You're taking the exact same things that you eat. So I always recommend to people, when you're a few weeks out, put yourself on a pretty strict meal plan and start playing around with the foods that are easy to travel with you. So if you're eating I know nobody's eating lobster tail during prep, but if you're eating like lobster tail, obviously that's not going to be a good travel solution. So make sure you start designing your foods like when you're a few weeks out in your prep that work well for your gut, for your digestion, that your body responds well to, and that you can travel really easy with. And your coaches can always offer, more tips on that. But that's a crucial thing. Travel with your food. You're going to you'll have a cooler, and honestly, you'll be in with the cool kids. When you're traveling with your food, if your hotel doesn't have a microwave, you can always ask your coach. There's hacks for it. Most of us travel with like a little pan, like a little plug-in pan thing. Some people will use coffee makers, but we really like it's like a little Amazon thing. And I can post that if anybody's interested, but that's been our favorite thing. And so as coaches, when we all travel together, like Corinne and Ann and I, one of us will make sure one of us has that pot or something. When we're competing, we all have pots, but yeah. All right, so Gina has a question. Go ahead, Gina. Your microphone's on, babe.
Okay, all right, got me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, so what I have found, because sometimes the rooms don't have microwaves, so what I have found is when I bring my own food is I've got, and you can buy them cheap, little hot plates. And also I've literally bought in toaster ovens. But like those hot plates are the best thing because you can heat up things and you can always put a hot plate and a little pan in your suitcase. It totally fits. Doesn't take up much and it really works. And so that's always a really, really good thing that I found. Because because microwavable like chickens is disgusting a lot, after so much. But when you put it in a pan, it heats up good. It's a little grilled, and you can put vegetables but those little hot plates are the bomb. So
they are.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, that's perfect. The other thing I know, Anne, I can't remember the name, and Anne can tell us what she uses when she travels. It's like a vacuum thing, and then she has like there's a way to heat it up.
Oh yeah, it's sous vide.
Yeah.
Sous vide. So it's like a water tub, and I just pack it full of all my clothes, so it doesn't take up any extra space in my bag, and then it just has like a heating element that you stick in the water, and I can heat my food up that way.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Sky is asking, or she just said she's been out of the game for a while, and is competition still white? So right now, Sky, there is like I think it's called AB jewelry, and It has kind of like a rainbow, I call it like a rainbow effect. You honestly, you can wear whatever you want. When you get on stage, it's always going to be less is more, right? So you obviously don't want to get on stage with like a whole bunch of bling because you're up there to display your physique. So for the most, and especially like at the master's level, I always tell people when we're competing at the master's level, we're older. So we want to present like a classy package. So I mean, the jewelry, for the most part, everybody does have the white crystals, but you can wear whatever you want. All right. So Jamie, you mentioned there's Hot Logic. Yes. That's a good product. You plug it in. Let's see. Do you recommend a newbie doing their own hair, makeup, and tan? So Ashley, I do recommend newbies. The DIY tan is perfect. For me, if it can fit in your budget, I recommend you get your hair and makeup done. I think this is a personal preference of every coach. But for me personally, I prefer, if you're going to get your hair and makeup done, I prefer you to go with somebody that you've actually looked at their work. I'm not usually a huge fan of whoever the shows have, because I don't know, I just haven't had really great experiences. But I do recommend you get it done. Number one, because you've worked so hard, and when you're doing your first show, your cortisol, you're just going to be stressed out, and it's nice to have that done for you. You don't need to be, unless you're already coming with a background in doing your own hair and makeup. I just feel like that's not worth the extra added stress of like, oh my God, I need to figure out how to do this. So that's my two cents. Anne?
I was just going to say, I'm kind of with you there. If you're somebody who is really good at doing your own hair and makeup, you're a makeup artist or you've done something like that, you can do it. But the other thing to keep in mind is if you're only doing a couple of shows and it's your first time, I'm with Natasha, pay to get it done. It's just one less thing to stress about. Now, on the other hand, if you know you're going to be doing multiple shows and you know you're going to compete year after year, keep in mind the makeup that you need to wear has to match the god awful tan that's being put on your body. So you're going to spend a bunch of money on makeup regardless. So just kind of weighing the options. I mean, if you're going to have to go drop $100 at Sephora to be able to get your makeup to match your tan, just pay to have it done. So things to think about. And also with your hair, I mean, if you have to put extensions in, they're not easy to put in by yourself. So if that's one less thing to stress about, have it done. Now, if you've already got long, thick hair and all you need to do is curl it, you can probably get away with curling your own hair. Yeah. My 2 cents worth.
That's awesome. Sienna, did I say your name right?
Sienna.
Sienna.
So how do we choose the wig? It's my hair is short. Or is that a thing, or what are your thoughts on that?
It is a thing. So for me, I used to have like a pixie, so I did wear a wig my first couple of seasons. I didn't really like overthink it, so I literally just went to a shop and got whatever I thought looked good and what felt good on me. I just recommend you connect with your coach. As coaches, we are very particular. So if you ask us, we're going to tell you honestly, and we'll guide you kind of on like the look. And, you know, your coach will ask you like, what look are you going for? But if it's like your first show, don't spend a ton of money on a wig. You know, you can go to a local beauty supply store and they have plenty of good wigs, and that way you can like try them on and see. But for the most part, when you're first competing, you want to get a wig that's going to cover up your back, so at least mid back. Not because we don't have fabulous backs, but what happens is whatever is exposed, you get judged on. If it is not exposed, you don't get judged on it. So when you're doing when you first start competing, you don't need to have everything, you just want to put yourself in the best position. So that's the purpose of like, when people say wigs. However, things have transitioned a lot in the past couple of years, and you see a lot of beautiful women on stage with no hair or pixie cuts, and they rock it and they do really, really well. Right? So don't feel like you have to do it, especially if you feel like it's not in alignment with you. Like for me, when I first started competing, I loved my wig. It was like a $17.99 wig because it was like my alter ego, like I went from like my mom life And then when I put that wig on, I was like a whole nother person. It could have looked tacky. It didn't matter, but my confidence and my stage presence was so big. And I loved it. You know, now I've grown my hair out long and I really want to kind of rock the curly girl thing. But I'm telling you, like, I've seen some beautiful, beautiful girls, like, I mean, place extremely high with bald. They have no hair. So yeah, talk to your coach and just stay true to what you want to do. What makes you feel the best? How do you shine the brightest?
Right on. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so Catherine mentioned, oh wait, no, let me go back up to Ashley. Can you have another company just do your hair and makeup? Absolutely. How can you find someone outside of the show? So one, you can ask your coach. As coaches, we always ask each other, like, does anybody know anybody at this show doing makeup? That's one way, ask your coach. A lot of times though, to be honest, it's just getting on Instagram. All the makeup artists, you know, they are getting really good about making sure they tag, and you can find people through that. You can go to like the show's old page and kind of see who's hashtagging, and usually people have hashtag makeup. But your easiest bet is like to either start looking on social media. You can look for local makeup artists. Like if you are going to a show like Florida, there's always going to be a lot of makeup artists there because they're used to us being there for shows. But if you don't know where to start, Ashley, ask your coach. As coaches, we have a really good, what am I trying to say? We have a really good network, so we can usually find it out for you. Catherine was mentioning at Masters Nationals, they were saying they would revoke privileges if you, yes, that's a legal thing. So yes, I mean, I can't argue with that. And a lot of times for national shows, there's usually always a microwave. I mean, I know Gary always provides them. I know Tim provides them. Like have we ever been to a national show that they didn't have like a microwave room? Corinne and Ann? I don't think so. They always have one.
Yeah, they usually provide something.
Yeah. Okay, so if you guys go through the comments, thank you everybody for putting in comments here. For makeup artists, yes, that's great. And yes, they do have food available for purchase. But I kind of touched on my personal feelings on that earlier. Like when I went to Bermuda, I took all my food. That's something I don't like to put into anybody else's hands. And I think, Anne, when we went to Puerto Rico, you brought all your food too.
I was in Bermuda with you, but yes.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But yeah, I brought the same thing, packed all my own food. And then, the other side to that, and it's something Natasha and I both do that maybe we should elaborate on a little bit, is that there are a few handful of things that that don't travel well, that don't freeze well. So the easiest way to get around that is when you land, do an Instacart order and have it brought right to your hotel for things like almond milk, egg whites, stuff that I've learned egg whites don't freeze well. So learn the hard way. There are certain things you would just want to buy when you get there, but keep it to a minimum so that you're bringing all of your main staples with you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Cassidy said a lot of suit companies have payment plans. Yes, they do. We'll have Mary on here actually from Toxic, and she will go into that because they absolutely do that. Like you can always, pre-order your suit. I don't know who BUSC secretary is.
Sorry, I'm on my work email.
That's okay.
Sorry. Question. When you guys travel for shows, how early or like when do you travel? Is it like a Thursday night thing or is it?
Good question.
Because you're talking about food, like prepping for that. Like how long do you prep for food for?
I will let Anne answer that one.
I think it depends on how far you're going, honestly. So, I mean, if you're getting on an hour flight to go a next state over, you could probably get away with flying in Friday morning. If you're going far or if you've got connecting flights and you're going to be in the air for a while, I would plan on arriving Thursday for a Saturday show just because you want time for your swelling to go down, to let yourself like rest, acclimate, get caught up and those sort of things. And you also do not want to miss check-ins. So if it's a long flight and you've got connections, you don't want to chance it and fly out that day.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Christine?
For a Gary Udich show for nationals and for North Americans, we have to check in on Thursday. So a lot of us are having to fly in on Wednesday just to make check-ins, especially now with the way the flights are.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that make us check in Thursday for a Saturday show.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else? I'm going to hand it over to Corinne. We don't have any more. All right, Corinne, you go ahead and take it over.
Okay. So I'm just going to touch on strategy. So there's a lot of ways you can strategize about what kind of show or what you're going to do as far as competition goes. So it's going to vary person to person and what your goals are. So usually you'll talk with your coach, but I always like to kind of talk with my girls, whether this is a bucket list item or they just want to get on stage. Sometimes that might be best just to do something local. Some people are like, oh, I just want to have a good time or the team experience. And then we have a huge list of team shows that we're doing. And those are great because you have, team members there. You've got other coaches there. If your coach can't be there, they're always really fun. Do its team pump up. You have team pictures. So that's always a great experience. But then when you start getting into it, it's to be competitive. So what is your overall goal in doing that? Is it to qualify for nationals? How do you qualify? So these are all the questions that come into play, like whether you want to compete nationally, what does that mean? And if you want to earn your pro card, what does that mean? How do you earn your pro card? So I just want to touch base on all of these things. You can stay on this for now, I think. So when you're talking about, doing something local, a lot of people are like, I just want to do a small show, something that is safe to assume I can place, or at least come home with some hardware. The one downside to that is that maybe it won't be, you won't have the opportunity to do a true novice, which is something you can only do for your very first show. So that's the one and only time you can do it is if it's your first show. So if they don't offer that class, you don't get the opportunity to do that. So do your research, make sure you're looking at what classes they're offering. Again, if it's a really small show, they may combine classes. So instead of having masters 35, 40, 50, it may just be one big master's class with all of those ages, and you're all together with 5'0" to 5'10" or 6 foot, and you're all being compared against each other. So that's kind of the things that you run into when it comes to small shows. So sometimes it's good to research these things and just see how they were the year prior. And then one other thing I was thinking about is that check the websites of these promoters and make sure that they have all of the information about the show, because sometimes you find these smaller shows and you can't find anything about them, and that's also very important. You want to make sure that everything's there. So when it comes to being competitive, talk to your coach, tell your coach what your overall goal is. If you want to go nationally, that's another story, because now you need to talk about what show is best to do. A lot of things I'm talking to my clients now about is, if you want to compete nationally, we need to get you in front of one of the judges that's going to be judging you nationally before you go. So it's not worth just doing a show just to do a show to warm up with. It's let's go to a show where, Sandy's judging or Tyler's judging, so that we can get in front of them and get feedback first. That way we know what they want from you. So things like that, just, strategizing for what your goal is. And then, nationally, what does that mean? So to qualify for nationals, you have to place top 2 in the open class to do an open national show. That means you have to place top 2 in an open show to do like the open classes, which is the, classes A through, I don't even know, what do they go to? I, G, J, I don't know. There's so many of them now, but that's just the open for your height or for your height class. So in order to do those, you have to put, and that's any age. That's not the masters. To compete in a masters national class, you just have to step on stage. So there's no placing qualification. It doesn't matter. You just have to step on a stage that year to qualify. So those are the kind of the differences between doing the open nationals and the master nationals. I was going to say one other thing about that. Oh, the other thing about small shows too is that if there's 2 in your class and you place top 2, well, not necessarily you, but say, there's people that place top 2 in these small shows. They qualify for nationals. Maybe they're not really quite ready for nationals, but they go because they won. You kind of get that mixture of people that are like really top 2 tier from like a bigger show, and maybe it's just like they won by default. So it's really good to test yourself. Go do a bigger show, see how you place, how you stand up against like a really good competition, and start doing really well in these bigger shows before you go on to nationals. And then earning your pro status. So how do you do that? You have to win a national show. And if anyone here has done nationals, you know that these shows are huge. There's sometimes, 25 up to 45 or 50 people in each class. So I know when I won my pro card, there was 48 in mine. I don't know about Natasha and Anne, but we've had some big classes. So it's not easy. And you have to, you've got to give it your all and get feedback and come back better. So that's my feedback on this slide. Do you guys have any questions on this one, strategy? Nobody? All right, cool. Okay, so organization. I kind of talked about this before, but research the social media accounts of the show promoter. If you get on there and you can't find any social media about the show, you can't find anything about, recent posts, they're all from like years ago, you might want to look into that a little bit deeper. It kind of shows that the promoter is not maybe that organized, or I don't know, it's just something to look into. You also want to make sure the website is nice, neat, has all the information that you need. I always like to check and make sure that there's, vendors that you can find on there that are doing the hair and makeup, tanning. At least that stuff's up to date. I've seen some that have like no information for months until like 2 weeks before the show, and that's kind of a red flag. So that's something you just want to make sure it's really there. So do your research on the vendor or on the show promoter. Make sure that you feel good about it, that they're organized. Are the competition details clear? Is the venue, host, hotel, is it updated? Is it telling you where that's at? Is it giving you a link to click on to get to the host hotel? The show schedule, is it up to date? Can you find it? Sometimes you can't even find that. So just making sure that all that information is available to you, and that check-ins are stated clearly when you have to be there. Just my little tip is, if you're struggling to find any information about it, or the social media presence is not available for the promoter, it could be an indicator that maybe the show won't be very organized. That's my experience. So any questions about that, or anyone experienced anything like that? No? Is there quiet? Okay. Next. Okay, judging. This is a big one. So feedback, is this important? Yes. How many times have you guys gone and not got feedback? I've done it before. Personally, like when I've been competing 16 years, and there's probably been maybe more than half those years I never got feedback. But I'm here to tell you now, yes, get it, listen to it, talk to your coach about it. Most of us coaches, we are there, we go with you. We want to get that feedback with you. It's very important to us that we talk to the judge face to face. And that's important because you want them to see you, to say, hey, I care, like I want to know what changes I need to make. So be respectful, thank them for their time and their feedback, even if you don't agree, it's okay. You want to, just ask them. We are putting ourselves on stage, we're asking for them to judge us. That's what we're doing. And so why don't we want to know what they think? We have to ask them, like, hey, what do you think? Go ahead, Anne.
And I would encourage, you all have fit body coaches, so that's great. They know the drill. Try and make sure your coach is with you, because your coach is going to know to ask questions that you're not going to think to ask. So a perfect example is you do a local show and you do really well, and you're kind of on the fence, like, okay, are we ready to go to nationals this year or not? That is the question you want to be able to ask those judges. Like, okay, we're thinking about hitting nationals in 4 weeks. What do you think? They're going to say, absolutely, go for it. Or they're going to say, you need to build for another year and try again next year. Those kind of things. Because you don't want to throw a bunch of money at a national show when the head judge is telling you you need another year to grow, type of a thing. So just making sure you're asking the right questions, or asking leading questions to the judges, so that you get the information that you really need if you're going to keep going for the season.
Yeah, go ahead, Natasha.
Yes, everything. Yes, yes, yes to what Corinne and Ann are saying. And I just kind of wanted to say, a lot of times we know you guys are tired. We know you're exhausted. It's been a long road. And at the end of the night, you're like, I just want to get out of here. I want to go have my meal. I want to go spend time with my family. However, sometimes I feel like when people do that, it's hurting you more than not, because you have worked so hard. And in addition, when it comes to judges' feedback, especially from Sandy has worked really, really hard to make that a standard. And it's still the case at a lot of shows. It's still a lot of Fit Body Fusion people, because, we stay to get the feedback. It is so important. Do not go on that stage and come off and be like, oh, I already know I need to grow my glutes, because that's not always true. More times than not, what you're thinking that you really need to improve on is not really the case, because there's so many other aspects that go into it. Sometimes I've had some girls where, like, the judges are like, oh, well, she just needs to change the cut of her suit bottoms because she has a really long torso. And even as a coach, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Okay, we can totally do that. But it is a very valuable experience. And like I said, we know you're tired. We know it. The judges are tired. Just think about them. They have sat there and looked at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of competitors. So that is something, and you'll hear it from all Fit Body Fusion coaches, like, we do not take that lightly. Even if I am your coach and I am not at your show, and if Coach Corinne is there, I want you to wait, because she will wait with you. We are all like that as coaches. The other thing I wanted to mention too, and I really love the fact that Corinne is bringing all of this up, when we're doing show selection, it is strategic. If you know that you want to go to the national stage, it does matter what you're doing as your qualifier, because you don't, like, not that it doesn't make sense to get in front of a judge. You want to get in front of those judges that are going to be at the national level. We all know, if you have been in front of Sandy remembers you. She gets to know you, right? So it benefits you to choose shows that, maybe Sandy or Tyler or Etzler are going to be at, because those are the same judges that are at the national level. And it makes a massive difference versus having a coach, like Coach Joe over here, or Judge Joe, and he's like, oh, you totally need, like, bigger deltoids, or, like, you need a massive back. Well, he doesn't judge at the national level. So just depending on what your goals, but if your goal is not like the national stage that year, and you just want to get used to the stage and get some experience, then your selection is going to be totally different. So that's why we felt like show selection is very, very important, because for the most part, as coaches, we are very strategic. We don't want you guys just, like, throwing all your money away, like doing random shows just because, unless you want to. If you say you want to, then we'll totally support that.
Yeah, I mean, competing is so expensive, and we know that, we understand that, but we also want you to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself. And that's why strategy is so important for us to talk to you about and understand, like, what are your goals? And again, with, like, feedback, like Natasha said, if she's not there and she's your coach and I'm there, I will stand in line to get feedback with you. Same with Anne. We all the coaches are there to help. And that's what our job is, to stand in line after the show and get feedback, because getting that face to face with each judge is so important, because they do remember, and they do, they appreciate that. Sometimes shows, they'll say, like, this is more for, like, regional or, like, even local shows. Judges are not staying for feedback. You can email them. Here's their email, which that kind of stinks. But regardless, get feedback. Just be respectful. Thank them for their time. but it is valuable, and it's something that we need to do to get improvements so that we know what to bring to the stage when we move, when we progress. That's how we get better, even if we don't agree. So just another thing is to be realistic. Like, you're not going to win every show. It's just not realistic. And even if you do, that's awesome, but you're going to get to the national circuit and it's not like that anymore. So just be realistic and have a good time, and focus more on like your progression as an athlete, and not so much about winning and that pro card, hashtag pro card or whatever. Like, just focus on being an athlete and becoming a better version of you, because in all, that's what our goal is. And the more you focus on that and the less focused you are on like winning, the better you're going to be. Because I tell people this all the time, like, you might be winning every show on the regional stage, national stage. You're gonna not be that way. You're gonna lose a lot more than you're gonna win. Once you go pro, you're gonna lose a hell of a lot more than you're gonna win. So, just enjoy the whole journey. It took me a long time to go pro, and I am so grateful for it, because it made me very seasoned on the stage. Got all my jitters out. I felt like I became way more graceful on the stage, and it made me a better pro because I'm really good at losing. So just be grateful for every part of your journey, and take that time to like build muscle. You always hear that saying that it's not called body built, it's called bodybuilding, and we have to take those years to earn that muscle. And then you just have to be a good loser to be a good winner. So support those who win, who beat you, who on your team, even, like, or not on your team, just give them a big hug and tell them congratulations, because that's the point of all this, is being supportive to other women. So that's kind of how I feel about everything. I just think it's it's just enjoying the journey.
We open up some questions here.
Yeah.
Christine, you had a question? Or your hand up?
Just real quick. How important is it? I have only been judged and reviewed by Sandy in the 7 years I've competed. How important is it to get in front of the other? I think you guys mentioned Taylor and another person. How important is it to get them to look at you as well?
You have been in front of Tyler last year. We just didn't get his feedback. So yeah. So we can stay in, we can work our way down the line this year and get his feedback as well, or Adela's. But yeah, it is sometimes hard. You get tunnel vision and you want Sandy's feedback. But yeah, Tyler his is becoming just as important. So
Are they available? I've never seen them available. It's always been just Sandy.
He's
he's been
recently
better.
become available. He's getting better.
Much better.
Yeah. And that's why we're saying, like, it's Sandy. Sandy has been our advocate.
Okay.
So yeah, but he's getting better.
Okay.
He's working on it.
Okay. Thanks.
BUSC secretary. Sorry. Tell me your name again. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, my name's Sam, by the way.
Sorry.
When we talk about like having your coach and things like that, I'm in the Midwest, so my coach is in West Coast. So I don't know if she'll be able to go to the show that I really would like to do. How do we know what other coaches will be there? Or is that something I just have to talk to my coach on?
So we know. As a coaching team, we have an internal like spreadsheet, so we know who's going to be at every show, and you'll always usually hear your coach kind of encourage like certain shows, and that's because we know we're going to have a presence there. So they do know. And like, if it's a show you really like, you really want to do, your coach can tell you, like, we're not going to, I won't be able to be there, and we don't really have a team presence there.
Okay.
So we do, we know for the entire season.
Okay.
Yeah. And with that said, though, you can, let's say you do a show and there isn't another, your coach can't be there, but there is going to be another fit body coach there. Your coach will say, hey, Coach Natasha is going to be at that show. I'm going to connect you with her. She'll take care of you. And then she can help you get feedback. If you're at a show by yourself and there's literally no judge, at that point, I would communicate with your judge and just say, I'm going to stay for feedback. What questions should I ask? So at least
the show that I'm looking at, I got off the Fit Body Fusion website. So Hopefully
Perfect.
someone's going to be there.
Yeah, yeah. If it's
Okay.
a sponsored show, someone else will probably be there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Gina.
Hey, hi, Ann.
Hi.
So a couple things about the shows, because I was thinking that my favorite thing in the world and why I've stayed with this team for 5 years is because um I've gone to several shows without Jamie, because Jamie's got to be everywhere, and I've had so much great experience with. Don't worry about any. I mean, every coach on this team is amazing, and they treat you like they're your coach, like you're their client. Everybody is works in such a team that's so helpful. And so I love all the coaches. Everyone has been there for me regardless, treating me like I was, I was their number one client. So you get treated like amazing at these shows, so never be nervous of that. Another thing that I wanted to say about being in front of the judges is, so I've been off this June. It'll be 2 years that I've been off. My last show, going in, I had a great 2020 season. I did really good. I got I did really well. Going into 2021, my body was starting to give out. I was, really bloated, this and that. And I went into a show with Ann that won every freaking class. And, and I just didn't do as good as I was going to do. And I literally went up to Sandy with Jamie, and I was in tears because I was actually registered for the national shows, 2 national shows after. Had my hotel, had everything and I had to, she said, you need to take the rest of the year off. And it was so crushing, but I'm so glad I did, because now I'm going to be back after 2 years. And so it was crushing, when you plan on being in a national show and traveling and rooming with somebody and then you are crushed. But I'm glad I took the 2 years off. Wanted to thank everybody for being so supportive of everything. Yeah, that's it. So that's my input. You're never going to be loved more than this team. So you just aren't. So
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
of course, I love you, Natasha. And Ann.
Love you too. All right. Olga.
Hi, everyone. And I'm sorry I'm off camera because I'm making dinner. Just one thing that I wanted to kind of point out on the show. My first show was actually out of state. I went to Tampa Extravaganza, and Natasha wasn't going to be there. It was my first show ever, but she pointed out which one will be my acting coach during my show, and phone number was given to me. They also create WhatsApp groups for the people that are competing, so everyone is in touch, all the athletes and all the coaches. So I know who my coach was going to be, and she was great. And Natasha spoke to her, gave her the background on me, and it worked out perfect. That's all I wanted to add.
Love that. Thank you. I'm gonna make sure oh wait. All right, Gina, Olga, and who else? We'll go in that order to start. Wait, or did you guys already go?
I think they already went.
Those are all the ones that went.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It just notified
Christine
me.
has her
I'm a
hand
little
up again.
lagging.
Hey, just real quick, what is your all's opinion on doing multiple classes? I've always struggled with that because the judges say, just do your routine, don't add any fancy stuff. We want to see what you do best. We don't want to overjudge you. But then they turn around and tell you do multiple classes so the judges get to see you multiple times. So I just wanted to get your opinion on if we should do multiple classes.
So I think the reason why they say do multiple classes is the first time you come out, you're going to do your full routine, right? Sometimes, especially if it's like your first show, I'm not talking about nationals, but like in a normal show, regional show, the first time you come out, you're going to be the most nervous. And so maybe you won't do as well. I've seen this happen because I used to judge the shows here in Utah all the time. So as a judge here, I know that like you can go from not doing great in one class and then like winning the next class because you're more confident, you're more comfortable on stage, and you'll beat girls that you didn't beat the first time just because you look better the second time around or the third time around. So I think that's why, even as coaches, like I recommend doing a couple if you can, just to get those jitters out the first time. and then come back in and just, just rock it, because you're going to be more confident, comfortable on stage.
Okay.
But I also, let me throw this out there. I also recommend you don't do 5 just because you can, because you're going to be exhausted.
Fatigue
And
will
my-
set in.
And broke.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've had several clients, they're masters, and they've done like every class they possibly can, and it's been like 5 or 6, and they're exhausted. So, like 3, I think, is like a good number max. Hit the open, hit a couple masters, but then you don't really have to do a ton more. I mean, if your goal is to qualify for nationals, you hit the open, try to qualify that way, and then masters, you just have to step on stage, you're already qualified. But if you want to hit your age groups just to like solidify a medal or some hardware, great. But there's no point in doing every single class.
Perfect. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Who was next? Sorry, I lost track.
Stephanie, I think.
So can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Just to piggyback off of Christine, and my first show I did my first MPC show, I did 4 classes. And the 4th time I got on stage, I was in the center and got moved out because I got a cramp. So really, that's just one thing, like do as many as you think you can handle. Like 4 was too much for me. So
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, I think that's perfect, because you get so tired after so many. Yeah. Love that.
Olga, did you re-raise your hand?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to add in terms of how many classes you should do on my first show, and I told Natasha, I want to be on stage. I want to enjoy it, and I did 4, and I loved it. Every time I came out, I felt better and better. So I guess it's preference and how you feel. I just wanted to have fun, and I did. So I did 4. When I went to national in North America, which was my second show, I just did my class because the competition was fierce, and I didn't want to spend the $300 for each of the classes too. So Tampa was only $110, so I did 4. So I guess it's also depending on the show.
Yes, that's really good, Olga. It is true. Like it's a lot more expensive at the national shows than it is the regional shows. So that's so true. I'm going to go to a couple of the questions that were being asked in the messages first. So Ashley asked, when should you schedule a show mapping call with your coach? Corinne?
Oh, sorry. I like to talk to my girls like obviously before they're 12 weeks out, but I usually approach them with it if they don't talk to me first, which sometimes they do. But usually when I think they're ready, I'll kind of ask them like, hey, I think you're getting close. Let's talk about shows. Or do you have anything in mind, or is there something that you've been wanting to do? But usually it's just I want to know what their goals are. So if you have specific goals and you're feeling like you're kind of getting that itch, talk to your coach if they haven't talked to you yet. But I think every coach kind of has a different approach with that. I don't know what you guys do.
I do something very similar, but I think a really good kind of self-accountability check. You want to talk to your coach once you have all your kind of ducks in a row. When you're hitting macros, when you're getting your workouts in, when you haven't like an established kind of consistency, when you're able to be consistent. I think sometimes it's really hard for us as coaches, when somebody comes to us and they're like, okay, I'm ready to get on the stage, and they're not hitting macros, they're not getting workouts in, they're super stressed out, maybe something is going on at home. Those are not ideal conditions. So I always suggest like, make sure you are in a good place. Because it's not, a lot of time that's what we're protecting as coaches. This is a hobby. This is our sport. It's something we do, but we also care very, very much about your guys' mental and emotional well-being. So that for me, that's a huge piece of the puzzle. Whenever my girls are ready, when they say they're ready, I kind of go through that checklist.
Yeah, I won't usually approach anyone until I see consistency first and foremost, because in prep, you have to be very consistent. It's a very, it's mentally draining, and you have to be strong mentally, more so than even physically. So if you're not hitting, everything consistently, and you don't have to be perfect. We're not perfect, but like if you're not consistent with your things, then you're not ready for prep in my mind. So maybe just think about that before you even start processing, like what would prep be like for you?
Sorry. Catherine mentioned travel to another city to get in front of Bill for regional last year before masters. Should I stay in my local area for a regional if I don't know who the judges are? I'll give that to Corinne or Anne.
Ask your coach, because we have our insider scoop. We have our own show list, and usually if we can find out the judges for most of them, and we usually have the judges listed on that show, our master show list. So ask your coach if they know who the head judge is going to be, and then kind of go from there. Because more often than not, we do have an idea, and we can kind of at least find a show where maybe that judge will be judging. That if not, then I guess that's a different story. But if we can find a show where the head judge from the show you're trying to do will be judging, to get you in front of them first.
And just to kind of piggyback off Catherine's question, we are here as your coaches to help you strategize. You guys don't have to strategize on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Like the information that we have access to, like that's why we get to do what we do. So use us. Don't ever feel like, oh my God, I got to figure this whole thing out myself. You don't. Like that's what we do. And even as coaches, like if I have a question, like I'll put it out to, Corinne and Ann or all of our coaches, like if I'm trying to figure out where we go or what somebody does. So don't ever, like, that's the one thing I want everybody to know. This is what we are here for. We have got your back. We will create those strategies and like come up with a game plan together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if there's no more questions in there. Irina, I think, who had their hand raised?
I think Irina I don't know if her hand's still raised.
I did. I just had a short comment. It's not extremely important, but how I choose, like I always choose two classes. What's the word to compete in? It's my height and the oldest masters that are available according to my age. So this way I pay respect to the women of my experience in life, and also feel, well, because I'm tall, when I go with my height category, it's like girls half of my age. So I get a kick from that too. That's all I wanted to say.
I love it. It's always fun to try and just see how we do against girls our half our age too, because I think most of the time we do pretty well. So we might as well just at least give it a try, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not on the masters or not on the national stage, but at least on the regional
but
stage.
I truly take pride in competing in my age category, because truly it's already a privilege to get to be this age.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yet alone
Very
compete. Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else have questions or comments?
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We are always here for the dialogue. So if you ever have any additional questions, you can always ask on the WhatsApp group. We will do the raffle. So I'm going to hand over the mic to Anne so she can choose.
Yes. I plugged everybody into my little app here, so it'll draw a random name. So give me a minute to scramble and click the button. Dun, dun, dun. Tony. Tony is our winner.
Yay!
Tony.
Congratulations. So Tony I haven't, I'm not looking at everybody's faces.
You need to show
Um,
yourself.
Let me pull it up and I can give you a last name that will help. Tony Black. Oh, sorry, Tori. We don't have a Tony. Sorry, Tori Black. I entered her name wrong. My bad. Tori Black.
All right.
That's
Tori,
me.
are you on the WhatsApp group? Because we just need to get your address.
I don't think I am.
Okay. Do you
But
just
I
want
can download it.
do you feel comfortable giving me your email?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
There. Let's see. It's TORI
Uh-huh.
B
Mm-hmm.
Green at live.com.
At what? I'm sorry.
Live.com.
Okay. And is that GREENE or
Just green like the color.
okay. Perfect. All right, I will email you. Thank you guys all. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you guys all for joining us. We'll be back on next Sunday with, I think, is it our bloopers?
Yes.
Bloopers.
Yeah.
So
So
that's,
that'll be a good one.
go ahead, Ann.
I was just going to say, for any of you seasoned people out there that have had everything that can go wrong will go wrong happen to you at a show, hop on that call, because we're going to talk about like kind of the ways to manage some of those bloopers, but also just allow everybody to kind of share so we can all learn from each other how to manage when life does not go perfectly, as it never does. So yeah, that'll be a good one.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week. We really appreciate you. We're grateful for you. Thank you for allowing us to do what we love to do. And we look forward to seeing all of you guys on the stage if you're competing this season.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, Jen has it. Jen, you give her a gift.